Congressman Clyburn, let me jump in because I want to ask exactly about that issue. There is, Congressman Pence, a big vote, perhaps this week, coming up on whether to extend unemployment benefits. Republicans say it must be paid for. Here is the president's response.
They've got no problem spending money on tax breaks for folks at the top who don't need them and didn't even ask for them, but they object to helping folks laid off in this recession who really do need help.
Congressman Pence, why is it that extending unemployment benefits has to be paid for, according to Republicans, but extending the Bush tax cuts for the wealthy, which would cost $678 billion, that doesn't have to be paid for?
Well, let me say, look, Republicans, me included, have supported numerous extensions of unemployment benefits, and we're anxious to do so again. But look, the deficit this year is $1 trillion for the second year in a row and more. The American people have had it with runaway federal spending, deficits and debt, and they want to begin to see men and women in Washington, D.C. begin to make the hard choices and prioritize spending.
But the other part of it, too, you're not answering my question. I can understand the argument, pay for the unemployment benefits. Why then not pay for the Bush tax cuts for the wealthy?
Well, I think the reality is that as you study when President Kennedy cut marginal tax rates, when Ronald Reagan cut marginal tax rates, when President Bush imposed those tax cuts, they actually generated economic growth. They expand the economy, they expand tax revenue.
But the deficit still grew.
And so the deficit grew under the Reagan administration and the Bush administration for different reasons, and it had a lot to do with spending. The reality is, during the Reagan years, for instance, we doubled the amount of revenue that we were sending to Washington, D.C. after the tax cuts took effect. The point is, we've got to get this economy moving again, and we can't go back to either the tax and spend policies of the Democrats or the tax cut and spend policies of the prior administration. We've got fiscal discipline and tax relief. That's how we get America moving.
Congressman Clyburn.
Yes, let me tell you what we cannot go back to. We cannot go back to those policies that lost 8 million jobs in 8 years. We cannot go back to those policies that refuse to give 95% of the American people, as we have done, a tax cut. Giving tax cuts to the upper 2% and not paying for them is the counter prescription that's got us in this difficulty in the first place. And the American people do not want to go back to that. The Democrats will not go back to that. I'm going to say to my friend, Mike Spence, I think you are misreading the tea leaves here, and I do mean that as an intended pun. We are going to take our contrast between us and the Republicans to the American people this fall. We plan to win this election and win it big.
Okay, let me bring in another big issue.